Hey, what's going on, Weavers? Tim here again, and in this episode we will be making a Conquistador wallet band that is great for minimal wallet carry. This functions very simply as a wallet band that can carry any number of cards and cash. This method is also highly customizable to fit what you need and look the way you want. You can also make this band work lengthwise or widthwise, so if you're a fan of minimal wallet carry, this video is for you. Let's get into it. For this project, I'm using 550 paracord as well as shock cord for elasticity. The amounts of cord you will need will depend on your personal needs and depending on how many cards and cash you want to fit in the wallet. And of course, it will depend if you're making a widthwise band or lengthwise band. To start this one off, I'm going to gut my 550 paracord. You don't have to do this, but I wanted to make the band thinner, so I gutted the cord. Just cut the ends off the cord and pull out those inner guts. Also make sure you singe those ends shut once you're done. I'm going to begin this weave on one end of the cord and put a bend in it. From there, I'm going to wrap 4 passes around the 2 strands that were bent together. Make sure you keep the cord nice and flat. After you've done 4 passes, you want to pass the remainder of the cord through the end of the loop. Then from there, pull on the short end on the opposite side and close that loop. This is going to create our starting point for the Conquistador weave. Next, I'm going to attach the end of my paracord to a fid and start my Conquistador weave by going through the first loop closest to the running end. Notice how I'm going through the far end of the loop with respect to the side where the terminal end is. Then pull all that cord through the loop. You will get twists and tangles when doing this, and the best way to work those tangles and twists through is to untwist the cord as you pull it through. You may have to pull the cord back and forth a few times, but it does get easier as you go along. I'm going to continue the Conquistador loops to the other side for a total of 4 loops. Also, when doing this, be sure to keep the terminal end on the same side consistently. In this current orientation, that's on the left. I've used this assembly point for the Conquistador weave in many projects, so it's definitely a good method to learn as you can use it for a lot of other paracord projects. Now, if you're doing this for the first time, it might be a little tricky, and I would actually suggest you practice the Conquistador weave with ungutted paracord if you're having difficulties with the gutted cord. With that first row done, I'm going to reverse directions and continue the Conquistador weave. This time I'm going through the right side of the loops, weaving back to the other side. So I'm going to continue this process of weaving my Conquistador band and create about 5 inches of Conquistador weave. Again, this will vary depending on what you want to do. Once I've completed that part, I'm now going to add my shock cord by going through the last set of Conquistador loops with my shock cord on a fid. Also, I'm going to tie a simple knot at the end of the shock cord to prevent the rest from slipping through. However, in hindsight, this wasn't really necessary. So that being said, I'd say ignore this part of tying the barrel knot, as the shock cord will not get pulled through. However, do still leave a few inches on the starting point, as we will need it to pull the cord to the inside of the wallet band later on in the tutorial. From here, I'm going to continue my conquistador weave with that shock cord and make about a 1-inch section of shock cord conquistador. Again, notice how my conquistador weave goes through the leading side of the loops. I'm going to my left, so I enter on the left side of the loop. Continue this same process of weaving the conquistador loops until you come up a little bit short of your band, as you need some tension to keep the cards and cash secure. Doing this part of the conquistador weave with the shock cord is a lot easier than the gutted 550, as you'll have less tangles and twists. If you want to use more shock cord and have a larger section of the elastic part, you can always do that. If I'm not mistaken, it took about 2 feet of shock cord to make just under 1 inch of the weave, but I would give a little extra just in case. I'm going to undo the knot at the beginning of the weave, and it ended up not in the best position, so I'm actually going to tuck it back to the inside of the band. So now I can snip and melt the excess orange cord where I completed the conquistador band. And from there, I'm going to clip off the excess shock cord as well. And I can't fully melt the cord as it has a rubber core. So what I'm going to do is add a drop of super glue to keep it in place. Be very careful with the super glue, as I actually squeezed a bit too hard and added a little too much, but it was still okay. So pay attention to this part, as you can see how much I stopped short before closing the wallet band. I'm going to go through the spaces in between the conquistador loops where I started the weave from the inside of the band, and then proceed to come back through the first conquistador loop on the left. I'm going to proceed doing this to close up the band across from the left to the right. Also notice I'm leaving a bit of slack for space to make things easier when we will close up the band. So just continue going through the front of the conquistador loops and go through the inside of the wallet band through those gaps, which are just between the initial loops, and you'll definitely see them when you get to this point. So I've made my way across, and I have the last 4 loops connected to the other side of the 550 section, and I'm going to end up on the right side. Now I can work all the slack through and close up my ends. To secure the end of the shock cord strand, I'm going to feed it through the last 4 conquistador loops that are connected to the 550. But I'm going to do this on the inside of the wallet band, as you can see here, and I'm going to pull all that through. Lastly, I can snip and melt the rest of the orange 550, and I'm going to do the same with the shock cord, sealing it in place with a bit of super glue. And there we have it, guys, a Conquistador wallet band to make a minimal wallet carry that is also quite interesting to look at. Remember, you can always play around with the ratio of shock cord to 550 cord. You can use more or less depending on what you want. It's entirely up to you. Remember, these videos are a guide. Feel free to improve upon or modify them as you see fit. That being said, a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you want access to exclusive tutorials as well as our Discord server, feel free to check out my Patreon page, link in the video cards as well as down below. You can join for as little as $3 a month. You can also support this channel by liking the video and commenting. Also, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel.